So it's been another month, but will this be the last month? We've got Grandpa Leif and the last Vinland Saga Chapter review, question mark, exclamation mark. Vinland Saga Chapter 176 review. I did say the right number there, yes. By your friend as always. So we do these. We're going to talk about this at the beginning. Because I'm going to clickbait this video with it in the title. This is not the last chapter of Vinland Saga, if anybody interpreted the title that way. But are we going to continue to cover Vinland Saga every week here on the channel? Now, I recently have had some conflicting feelings about this. Firstly, I don't think anybody would care if we stopped doing the Vinland Saga reviews. Because if, in the event that we are going to stop the Vinland Saga reviews, I will still talk about every chapter as it comes out. I'll make some sort of tweet on Twitter about it, and we will talk about it on Twitch live, where we're streaming this right now. You can see the chat going on over there. I don't know who's in there. Bacon's in there right now. Putting Vinland Saga over Berserk. Ready for 200 peak viewers, Android's saying, every week. Did I say week? I meant month, whatever the fuck. You understand. So every time a Vinland Saga chapter comes out, I'm going to talk about it. If I talk about it on stream, you don't have to be there live. Twitch has VODs that are around for like 2 months after the stream originally came from. So if a fucking Vinland Saga chapter comes out and I'm no longer uploading the reviews on YouTube, if you just go back and you're really concerned about what I think about the Vinland Saga chapter review and you're really in love with these chapter reviews, which I don't think anybody is, but if you are, you can just go onto the VOD and we'll talk about it freeform there. On Twitch, we can scroll through the fucking whole chapter and show it and talk about it as we go through it, because nobody's going to copyright strike us on there like they would on YouTube if we were to scroll through it like we used to do. We've been doing Vinland Saga chapter reviews since the inception of the old channel, so it's a big, it's a legacy series here. It's not very good. A lot of the older ones are either deleted like they were if they were on the old channel, or they are on private because I did used to scroll through the chapter and I fear they would get the channel banned. And recently we started doing our friend the PowerPoint here. But leave a comment if you really want us to continue doing these chapter reviews. If you're desperate for us to keep doing it. Like the biggest chapter review was the one post time skip where I did a scripted review and it got fucking 22,000 views for absolutely no reason. I still don't know why. Probably because time skip was in the title. But outside of that, like, the views have continually dipped, and I know this is sort of a slow period for the series entirely, so it's like that could reflect in the reviews as it does with Attack on Titan. Sometimes if it's a big Eren chapter, there's big views, but if there's not, then there's like middling views. But I've also gone through an effort recently of trying to declutter the channel so it's just video essays and Attack on Titan chapter review stuff, since they get big time views. So I've stopped doing the Patreon ads to like clutter up the subscription feeds of the viewers and to just declutter what my channel looks like when you click on it. So I feel like getting rid of the Vinland Saga chapter reviews is another thing where it's just sort of cluttering the channel. And it's not like, and nobody really cares about it, and it sort of doesn't get many views, whereas if I just uploaded video essays, I'll still make like scripted videos about Vinland Saga. I still have things to say about it, probably another anime video soon, that'll be fun, and all that. So there still will be Vinland Saga content. I'm not entirely married to the idea of stopping. Right now, I'm thinking about stopping. That's like what I'm going to do, unless this video gets a bunch of outreach of people saying, no, don't fucking stop them, or something like that. But that's my weird introduction. If you just kept Twitch discussion, I think you can ditch YouTube. Yeah, of course we'll talk about them on stream. We struggle for shit to talk about on stream. But let's actually get into the chapter review. It sort of is a fitting last chapter review if it is the last one. With all the Leif stuff and the fun nostalgia stuff and the saying goodbye stuff. But let me fucking yawn for a second. I actually planned on making last month the last one, but there was no Vinland Saga chapter review last month. So I think in the intro I said it's been a month. It's actually been 2 months since we didn't get a chapter last month. We also got the bonus Assassin's Creed thing here. I read through it a little bit. It was like 5 pages. I don't know much about Assassin's Creed, but there's a tie-in with Old Thorfinn and whatever. I guess it's a cool marketing ploy. But I don't really have anything to say about it besides that. Leif is incredibly old is our first slide here. Why am I fucking so yawny right now? The chapter starts off with our sailors stopping off in Iceland at Leif's estate. We have always heard about Leif's residence in Iceland, but we had never seen it, but here we are. And we got our image over here of his grandson telling him to wake the fuck up as he's dozing off. Because he's old. Leif is old. We saw him post time skip. He looked pretty old, but now he's like really old. Like, if he dies in his sleep tonight, nobody's going to be surprised, and they're not going to be that sad. They're going to be like, he passed in his sleep. Oh, well done. I used to say that Leif was going to die in Vinland, like of old age. That would be like the final chapter thing. But maybe it'll happen beforehand. I don't know. Leif's going to be around the next few chapters. I'm pretty sure he's not going on the voyage, right? He's not going to Vinland. He's letting Thorfinn do it. So maybe he dies before they leave, or he dies right after they leave in like a Godo Berserk situation, where Guts leaves at the beginning of Conviction. By the time he comes back at the end of Conviction, he's already died, or something like that. Most notable here is that Leif is looking his age. He's not far from death, as pointed out later in the chapter. He was looking old initially post time skip, but he doesn't actually seem. But he didn't actually. But he didn't actually seem to be going. But he doesn't actually seem to be going on the Vinland voyage, which is interesting. Here we see Leif's grandchild wake him up. Because the old man falls asleep upright sometimes, and in his hard of hearing. The hearing joke will be relevant later in the chapter in a very cute moment that we will talk about. But yeah, it's just characterizing Leif is old. He's got grandchildren around him. He's around his progeny. And we'll talk about bug eyes and shit later. The old dumb guy Minty's here. He hasn't even seen Vinland Saga, but he's chiming in. Bjorn was back for a panel, so it was worth it. He was in one panel later on. This theme of people settling, getting old, and dying is terrifying. Old people try to tell young people things through art, and we tend not to understand them until we're old ourselves. I've seen this reflected in everything I love: Berserk, Mad Men, The Sopranos, everything. Getting old is scary, man. Bert Cooper telling Roger he's going to die soon if he retires is particularly poignant here, I think. There's sort of this idea that, like, in Berserk, Godo, who we just mentioned, like, he has this big speech about watching the sparks and how the sparks give his life purpose because he's a blacksmith. And he basically has this monologue about how he was hammering a sword, and then one day he woke up and he was an old man, and he had just gotten so lost in, like, being a blacksmith and, like, plying his trade and perfecting his trade that he forgot one day. One day he just woke up and he was an old man. And sort of just like this sort of getting lost in your craft. And once you, like, have to stop doing it, like Godo, like, injured himself and then he had to, like, lie in bed. Like, once Leif stopped sailing, he just got old really quick. And this is sort of a theme that's reflected in everywhere. It seems to be like a common sentiment people hold. It's a little scary, you know? Mad Men, again, Bert Cooper brings this up in Mad Men, where he talks about Roger, about how after people retire from advertising, they retire, they go golfing for a few years, and then a few years, and then he points to the ground and says, they're dead. You know it's true. And Bert is like the oldest character we see in Mad Men, and he's still working up until the day he dies. And he sort of outlives all of his contemporaries who decide to retire, and they sort of lose their appetite, as Bert says, and they end up in the fucking ground. The Sopranos explores it with fucking Uncle June slowly going insane and it being miserable to watch. It's just like, old people will be fine, and then they'll be old. And they'll be old, and they won't be able to hear right, and they'll slowly lose their mind, and sort of gone in an instant. Leif is very much still in there. This is made appropriate by the end of the chapter, but this sort of theme, Vinland Saga is hitting on a lot of thematic beats now, and it's just like sort of an interesting thing to explore. Why not just write it down instead of making it symbolic and harder, lol? I don't know what Well Never Mind Then. It seems like capitalistic propaganda. I have no idea what Well Never Mind Then is talking about. But let's continue on here. Thorfinn's conversation with Leif. Then Thorfinn shows up, the boat's dock, knocking the microphone over as we like to do. And they have their little talk here. Carly in his hand, doesn't say much, but can't speak now, Carly, don't forget. Thorfinn and Leif reunite. They haven't seen each other for some time, and Thorfinn drops exposition that they're only going to be in Iceland for 2 or 3 days before heading off to Vinland. Remember, Leif and Thors were the ones who originally had this idea, the Vinland idea. Leif says here that he can take all the time he likes in this. He likes And this is a reoccurring motif in the chapter, Leif talking about how they can take their time, even though it seems like he doesn't have much time left. Sort of contradictory. Leif is like very much emphasizing take your time, sort of like enjoy this or whatever. It's like this cool, again, the old people always seem to tell you to take your time with some of their old people wisdom. And you sort of ignore it, and it's like, you don't have any time, old man, what the fuck? But Thorfinn is very adamant about moving forward pretty quickly. Maybe he just wants to keep moving forward, who knows? But they've come here to get some supplies, because it's like the closest place to Vinland. And they're also taking some people with them. They're trying to look for new recruits. Thorfinn goes through this exposition plan about how in the summer they're going to come back to Iceland to get more recruits to head over to Vinland after it's been set up and is slightly successful. But yeah, it's all interesting stuff here. After Thorfinn explains the further plan of new recruits and such, he has to repeat himself, and the grandchild explains to Thorfinn that Leif has gone a little senile. Thorfinn laments that he was fine last time they met, which he says was last summer, so wasn't that long ago. Again, he got old very quickly. The last time they met, and they get a sad moment of thinking that Leif can't enjoy the spoils of what's to come, though later Leif will make it known that he's very much still in there. True and true. But there we go. Leif wants them to stay as well. Yes, of course. He wants them to hang out a little longer. Calm before the storm in Vinland? Kino. I don't think so. We'll talk about this at the end. Or at least spend more time with him, yes. I'm hungry and all accounts. What happened with Bug Eyes? Question mark. He's got a hot Norwegian girl here. We'll get into that in a second. Fucking my throat is fucking killing me. Thorfinn, thinking Leif is a lost cause, then wants to talk to Bug Eyes about making preparations about continuing the voyage, and that's when he finds out that Bug Eyes ran off last summer and got married to a girl after getting rich through gambling. Now, he was rich through the narwhal horns. This is a error on my part here, but he started to gamble it away. He basically is showing off his wealth, and this girl is attracted to him and his character, you see. Not all this gold he's got surrounding himself. Every chapter, I think, like in the recent chapters, there's been one like crazy, outrageous panel where it's like something completely different. And this is the panel this month where it's all the gambling stuff and Bug Eyes kicking back. I can't remember what it was, but I remember like noting like this is a weird abstract panel that's different. Maybe Bacon remembers and he'll say it in chat. Fuck, why can't I remember? What the fuck? I can't remember what it was. There's these weird abstract like one-shots of something else going on in the world, and it's very different than like the rest of the chapter, and it's a cool way for Yukimura to flex how good he is at art. Yukimura, right? I got that right. And this was the panel this month. It was cool. I liked it. This other guy close to Leif that I think we've met before isn't happy about what Bug Eyes has done. Thorfinn comments on how awful it is and how he doesn't understand why somebody would value, because he doesn't understand why someone would value money. But Leif later says that he's happy for Bug Eyes. He was, after all, a slave originally that Leif freed, and that he's living the life he wants to live. Leif is like very like he talks about how relieved he is that Bug Eyes finally got out from underneath his parents or whatever. So he's happy for him. It was like a cute like Bug Eyes doesn't like he's sort of being a prick, but Leif like sees the like he values him going off on his own and finally being happy if that's what it is. But I think Bug Eyes is still coming with us to Vinland. I think the joke works if he comes crawling back next chapter before they leave Iceland because he ran out of money and this girl that doesn't care about him left him in the street and he has to beg to come on board. It'd be funny. I think this is a possibility maybe. Or maybe because once we originally got back, like post time skip, like everybody was like, come on Bug Eyes, let's go make preparations. And he was like, I'm not going to Vinland, fuck you. And it seemed to implicate, like, one of the things we were going to have to do was convince Bug Eyes to actually come. But now he's supposedly off in Norway. So we'll see if this happens. This is a fine ending to Bug Eyes' character. If that's the way they want to go. Ooh, thunder in the background. Pretty cool. But I could also see him coming back and that being the gag. But apparently he's buying a farm and shit. Bacon is saying things in chat. This made me laugh so hard, lol. Well, you have the Ilva stuff, the Scales of War, I can't remember, and the Thorkel Whirlwind. No, I was talking like recent chapters. I think there was when they were talking about the balance of power, there was a cool, because they had the little measuring thing and there were armies in there. That was cool as fuck. That was one of them. That was top notch. The prodigal son. Perhaps Thorfinn was also a prodigal son. But Bug Eyes in this idea is more applicable. But yeah, the scale thing was one of them. Oh, hold on, we're fucking yawny today for an unknown reason. Yes, I finished this one. Leif gives Thorfinn his old Native American pipe. Thorfinn and Leif continue their talking, looking over the village and the farm. This is where I like these quiet conversations they have in Vinland Saga. It's a fun time. It's really the quiet moments of Berserk that are good. Have you ever heard that before? Every fucking moron has said it. But it works here in old Vinland Saga. This is where the hearing gag comes back into play after Thorfinn says he's not ready to leave Leif behind. Leif doesn't react instantly, and Thorfinn thinks he didn't hear him, but he was actually just internalizing it, and it's really cute. True, that moment was great, where like Thorfinn couldn't figure out if Leif was listening to him, but he actually was. He was turned on. He was just having a cute little moment. Leif then gives Thorfinn his old Native American pipe, which will be important later on, I'm sure. I'm sure this will befriend him with or maybe it'll create conflict somehow with a Native American tribe when they get to Vinland. Because dealing with the locals seems to be the only way we can get some major conflict towards the end of the series. They get nostalgic for the passage of time, which will become more apparent in a second when they talk about Remember the Pipe and shit like that. Leif also mentions the old headdress feather thing he also used to have, but he can't remember the name of it, and it's probably not around anymore. That was a weird part of the thing. It was a weird write-up, for my PowerPoint. Not knowing what the word means but remaining optimistic is wholesome and encapsulates what Vinland Saga is about. They say this one word and Leif says maybe it means friend, and that was so cute. I was like, oh, look at Vinland Saga being thematically optimistic. It's so cool. I hope it means friend. I wonder if that is an actual word and what it actually means, and if it actually means friend. Again, I'm sure that'll come back too. We're setting up for the natives to be introduced here. It's been 20 years and all the father figures have gathered round. Let me just check chat quick. The War Bonnet, is that what it's called? I was thinking that Leif got old because Bug Eyes left and Leif can't go back to get him like he did Thorfinn, which weighs on him heavily. No, I think it was wholesome as fuck. I think he's letting his son go off and be his own man. I don't think he wants to go and get Bug Eyes. I don't think he's even sad that Bug Eyes isn't there right now. I think he's proud of him. And the weight and stress ages him worse. No, I think it's just this trend of like people, like old people will be there and then they just won't be, and it's sort of this quick decline. And you're sort of like, before you know it, they're old and they're not who they once were. And I talked about that being reflected in fucking everything I've ever seen. So no, I don't think Leif is like sad. I think Leif is like very happy. He's willing. He's not depressed or anything before his death here. That was my read of the situation anyway. But Thorfinn and Leif get nostalgic here, and they both realize it's been 20 years since Leif was sitting telling stories to young Thorfinn, and it's melancholic. This like 20 years thing, it's like a very melancholic but like optimistic, like it has been 20 years. We've grown so much since then, so much has happened. But it feels like yesterday while also feeling like 50 years ago. It's all human condition stuff. There's this great page of Thorfinn remembering everything that's happened throughout the narrative, and instead of it breaking him like it did at the end of the prologue, he now looks back with nostalgia and no hate, which is re-emphasized by this incredible panel of all three of his father figures standing together, smiling, giving him the endorsement to continue doing what he's doing and found Vinland. Which is cute. This panel is fucking great. Everybody loves this panel. All three of his fathers over here. All of them accurately depicted rather. Thor's with sort of the stoic smile, Askeladd being cheeky a little bit, and Leif up front and center. Also, the one page is just about what happened 20 years ago. It's not about all of the narrative. I was wrong in there. I went back and checked after I'd written that part, so that's stupid. But you get the gist. It's a real world, and it does. It's a real word, and it does mean friend. I almost liked if it didn't exactly mean friend, but there we go. Panel is great. In a thematic way, it's him realizing the mutual dreams of all three men. He will save the world and achieve peace like Askeladd wanted. He will become a true warrior as his father tried to do, and he will found the Vinland settlement, the Vinland settlement as Leif always wanted to do. So it's cool that Thorfinn is like the actualization of all three of their dreams. Even though they couldn't do it themselves, they fucking... It's more, I say save the world here, that's a bit dramatic. Well, never mind, them was making fun of me earlier for saying that was part of Askeladd's dream. But Askeladd's dream was to like serve the person who would change the world and like create peace and end war and suffering and all of that. And he thought it was going to become Canute, but turns out to be, well, Canute's trying to do it too. He just sucks at it. And Thorfinn is actually the one he rubbed off on him, so he did end up helping Artorius, which is Thorfinn. We'll see how it pans out. Thor's obviously wanted to become a true warrior and didn't want to kill anybody and all that stuff, the pacifism stuff, and Thorfinn has done that, and Leif wanted to found Vinland, and Thorfinn's now doing that. So he's doing everything the three fathers wanted, and it's all cute, and it's like, haha, everything's going swell. I will father is the last line of the chapter. It's cute as fuck. Everything's great. It's super cool. What a great way to end the chapter. But as I say here, the chapter ends with this fucking, hold on, I'm fighting back to yawn. I swear I'm not even tired, bro. The chapter ends with this remarkable page, and Thorfinn simply saying, "I will, father," which says a few things, as it's him acknowledging Leif as a father to him, but also him promising to fulfill the dreams of the three father figures he's had throughout his life, as we just went over in the last line. In the last slide, it's cute. What if the rest of the final arc is just comfy? Would that be so bad? Everything is going so well right now. Now that sounds sarcastic, like I know bad stuff is coming. But would it be that bad if there was like no conflict for the rest of the series? Like these last 3 or 4 chapters have just been like reuniting and with old characters and sort of getting massive payoffs with them that bring everything full circle. Like this feels like, unironically, it could be the last chapter of Vinland Saga. Thorfinn's still got there has been some tension things set up, so I don't think this will happen. But I think that would be a cool way to end a story if you just have like a whole arc where there's not really that much conflict. I feel like most people would hate it, but I would like to see it like done in some way. Obviously the dudes that have snuck swords aboard and the natives and shit, that's all going to come into play and they're going to fuck up somehow, and Thorfinn's going to have to make a big final stand and either die for the cause or something. Or it'll just fail and it'll turn totally nihilistic. I'm not sure. But I wouldn't be against it if it was just fun chapters where everybody lives happily ever after. Unironically, I think that would be great. Is this the last Vinland Saga chapter review you want to do on the channel? Do you want these continues, or could you take or leave them? If you actually want them to continue, leave a comment telling me why I should continue. We talked about all that at the beginning of the stream. That was just in case I forgot. But that's the chapter. Is chat saying anything? I wonder if Leif will become young again when Thorfinn is thinking back. The dusk in the background is the dusk. Is the dusk Leif's life? Well, yeah, he was at the end. Cool little symbolism tie in there. Pretty sure Askeladd only cares about whales. Maybe. Or sort of. Vinland Saga. Maybe Vinland Saga is cancelled. Comfy would be good, but it'd be fun. would be fun, but I would still wonder about all the other possibilities. We'll have to see how it plays out. Now, will we see it play out in monthly chapter reviews on the channel, or will we see it play out when we talk about it on stream and on Twitter? If Vinland Saga, when Vinland Saga ends, I think maybe I would do a review of the final chapter or something. But I don't know, maybe all these commenters will convince me to keep doing these. We'll have to see what happens. But that's all I have to say about that chapter. Comment in the comments down there. Yes, comment in the comments in the description box below. Comment. But that's it for the fucking Vinland Saga chapter review, I must say. Quality chapter, it was a fun time. Berserk chapter should be out soon. It's scripted, unlike this one, which was a mistake. And the yawns have been a motif throughout these reviews. But yes, the Berserk chapter review should be out soon. There's a lot of crossover between Berserk and Vinland Saga fans, I imagine. So if you are a Berserk fan, get excited for that. The storm is picking up outside. I'm going to let everybody go. This has been your fucking maybe last ever Vinland Saga Chapter review, chapter 176. Tell me to continue them. Tell me if you don't give a fuck. We'll see how many views this gets and all that shit. But our sign off, maybe for the last time ever, get sad. Support links in the description below. Thanks.